Hello, my name is Mary Ogilvie. I'm a librarian and a storyteller. I live in Chicago, where I tell stories often. I love to tell stories, and I hope you're going to enjoy the one I have for you today. Today, I'm going to tell you a story called The Cat and the Parrot. This is a story from India. And it goes like this. A long time ago, there was a cat and a parrot who were friends. And they agreed that rather than each of them cooking their own meal every day, they would have dinner together. One would prepare a meal for the other, and then the other for the one, turn and turn about. It was the cat's turn first, and the parrot arrived and was rather disappointed. The cat really hadn't provided a very good meal at all. All there was a small slice of fish, 2 dry crackers, and half a pint of milk. The parrot was disappointed, but he was a very polite parrot, so he didn't complain. But the next day, when it was the parrot's turn, he cooked a wonderful meal. He roasted beef. He had a basket full of fruit. He made a pot of delicious, fragrant, steaming tea. But best of all, he baked little, crispy, spicy brown cakes. A whole clothes basket full of them. There must have been 500 of them in all. The cat arrived and was very pleased. The parrot just took 2 cakes. That was what he wanted to eat. The cat set to work. He ate the roast beef. He ate the fruit. He drank the tea. And then he started on those little crispy, spicy, delicious cakes. And he ate them all. And when he was done, he looked around and he said, "Well, cat, you invited me for dinner. What's there to eat?" The parrot was a little surprised, but he was a very polite parrot, so he said, "Well, there are these 2 cakes that I was going to eat myself. You can have those if you want to." And the cat gobbled those down. And then he said, "Now, parrot, really, what is there to eat? You invited me for dinner." Well, polite as he was, the parrot was getting a little annoyed. And he said, "Well, I don't see anything else to eat, unless you want to eat me." Well, the cat eyed the parrot, looked him up and down, and slip, slop, gobble, down went the parrot. And the cat walked on out the door. Now there was an old woman outside in the street, and she had seen what happened, and she was shocked. And she said, "Cat, that was a terrible thing to do. You just ate your friend the parrot." "What's a parrot to me?" said the cat. And he looked the old woman up and down, and he said, "I think I'm going to eat you too." And slip, slop, gobble, down went the old woman. And the cat went on down the road, feeling very pleased with himself. He hadn't gone very far when he met an old man and a donkey, and the old man was on his way to market, and he was late, and he was in a hurry, and he was beating his donkey, and he shouted, "Cat, get out of my way!" And the cat looked at him and said, "I just ate 500 cakes, my friend the parrot, and an old woman. And now I'm going to eat you." And slip, slop, gobble, down went the old man, and down went the donkey. And the cat went on down the road, very pleased with himself. Now he hadn't gone very far when he met a procession. It so happened that the king of that city had got married that day, and he was on a procession through the streets of the city with his beautiful young bride on his arm. And behind him were his men-at-arms. The men-at-arms were the soldiers who guarded the king. And behind the men-at-arms were ever so many elephants marching 2 by 2. Now, The king was very happy. He was just married and he loved his young bride. And he said, "Pussycat, be careful. You'd best get out of the road. My elephants might step on you." "Ha!" said the cat. "I have just eaten 500 cakes, an old woman, an old man, and a donkey. And now I'm going to eat you." And slip, slop, gobble, down went the king, down went the bride, down went the men-at-arms, and down went the elephants, 2 by 2. Well, after that, the cat really had had enough to eat, and he did walk a little bit more slowly down the street after that. But he hadn't gone very far when he came upon 2 little land crabs with their sharp little claws on each side. And the land crab squeaked, "Cat, get out of the way!" And the cat laughed a terrible laugh, and he said, "Oh, I have just eaten 500 cakes. My friend the parrot, an old woman, an old man, a donkey, the king, his bride, his men-at-arms, and his elephants. What's to stop me eating you?" And slip, slop, gobble, down went the land crabs. Now, when they got down into the cat's stomach, it was very crowded and dark and not very pleasant. As they got used to the darkness, the crabs looked around and they saw there in one corner was a pile of cakes with a bedraggled parrot sitting on top of them. And there was the old woman and the man and the donkey, and there was the king. He was holding his bride in his arms because she had fainted. And the men-at-arms, and there were all the elephants. They were still trying to keep together in their twos, but they couldn't. It was too crowded. The crabs looked around and said, "This is no fun. Let's get to work." And they took those sharp little claws of theirs and they went snip, 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 and snap, 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 and snip, 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 and snap, snap, snap. And pretty soon there was a nice hole in the side of the cat. And out scuttled the land crabs. Well, after the land crabs, out came the king, carrying his bride because she had fainted. After the king, out came all the men-at-arms. And after the men-at-arms, out came all the elephants, 2 by 2. After the elephants, out came the old man and his donkey, and now he was really beating that poor donkey because he was even later than he'd been before. After the man and the donkey, out came the old woman, and she began scolding that cat for all she was worth. And finally, out fluttered the parrot with 2 cakes, 1 in each claw, because that was all he had wanted in the first place. And what became of the cat? Well, the poor cat had to spend all afternoon sewing up the hole in his side. And that is the silly story of the cat and the parrot.